Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys are all doing well. And today, guys, we're back with the Warriors of Chaos vs. Beastmen showdown. So it's going to be a Chaos Blood Bowl match. We do have Prince Sigvald facing off against Malagor, the Dark Omen. For a second, I actually had to sit there and remember his name. I was like, oh, I haven't seen this character in many years. I've forgotten his name, but one of the cool things about Malagor is it does open up the double Gorbel play, right? Because if you use the pretty much the only other viable option for Beastmen Lords, if you want to be competitive, which of course is Morker, you can't bring two Gorbels without not bringing a caster. But with Malagor, you actually do get to bring the double Gorbel, which against Chaos certainly has some niche applications, right? Good against the Spawn, good against Shaggoths, and you know, oftentimes you do see Kolek or a Shaggoth in this matchup. So I like it, man. I think it's got some flavor. Now, as far as my army goes, it is going to be the Quad Marauder Horsemaster. These guys are quite good against Beastmen. They can skirmish pretty well against the Centaurs with throwing axes because they have superior range. Their speed is more or less the same. You have 90 speed against the 95 speed on these bad boys. So yeah, I really do like the performance of the Marauder Horsemaster, and we'll see how they do against the Centaurs. We got 4 of those. Yeah, I mean, again, a ton of good targets, right? These bad boys do have really high weapon strength. They can throw pretty efficiently against Minotaurs, Centaurs. There's a number of lightly armored targets here on the roster. Now, for the rest of my army, it is going to be Halberds. Halberds, will probably lose head-to-head against Bestigors, but aside from that, against Gors and Ungors, they're going to be able to win all those engagements, and it's also a nice insurance against Beastmen, Minotaur, and Spawn rushes. So we got 3 of those, I think. Prince Sigvald, Firecaster as well. Fire is always very good. Flaming Sword of Ruin to buff up all your missile pieces to focus down like Butchers of Kalkengard, who are weak to fire, or you have a Cascading Fire Cloak if you want to make a dueling situation a little bit better. That's pretty much it. Like, it's a very defensive build for the most part. I do have some skirmishing elements. I have hounds here, and I have some hounds on the other side. But the Beastmen, it's pretty hard to out-skirmish them. Typically, they will be able to envelop you, so it's more of like a defensive counterpunching type build. So for my opponent, he does have the double Gorbel. We got Malagor the Dark Pigeon back here, and what spells does Malagor have? Poor Malagor is like a peacock, just can't fly. Just are these things? Yeah, for a second I was gonna like see if those wings were like glued to his back or something. But he does have Viletide and Traderkin. Traderkin, actually, I've been seeing people use that quite a bit as of late. Well, I guess it's been a couple weeks since I've casted a tournament because of this godforsaken move we've been stuck in. But it's all good. We're getting there, man. I'll be back in a place here in a couple days. Javelin's going downtown, going after the Razorgors, and the Beastmen army is going to be relatively chaff-centric. So Ungor Spearmen, a couple Raiders in the back. Raiders are very, very good in this matchup because they can shoot at my skirmishers, and they can also shoot at the Chaos Spawn and usually pay for themselves very, very quickly. And you have pigs and Centaurs with throwing axes, and I think some basic Centaurs as well with great weapons. Again, Chaos does have a fair amount of armor, so having the AP great weapon variant I think is good. So right now, my opponent kind of forcing me forward. I couldn't see a lot of his army. It was hiding in the trees. Very much a Beastman, a natural Beastman player here. So he is going to be emerging from the forest here with the Gorbels, and I do rush to intercept with my Spawn and Halberd. So we'll see if we can block him up. Some of the throwing weapons as well. We do have our Marauder Horsemasters nearby. Are going to be trying to drop some bows here on top of these Gorbels and get some work. But Gorbel does leap in, but the Spawn do get the better engagement. Razorgor herds really don't want to be fighting Chaos Spawn. They only have 45 armor. 60 melee defense. It's going to be an absolute massacre as my Chaos forces really do grind through, and we pretty much get 500 gold for free here, which is quite nice. Flaming Sword of Ruin going down as well, imbuing a little bit of fire damage. Not that it helps in any of these engagements, but it does also just give us base strength. And over here, a little bit of a overextension by these Marauders. Against like this style of Beastmen play, you really want to kind of keep everything high and tight and stay together, because Beastmen are a faction that is extremely good at picking you apart if you kind of overextend yourself and spread out into a couple different directions. So something to kind of consider there. Now back in the front, Chaos Warrior Halberd's moving in, Sigvald moving in as well, looking to spank some of these Gore herds, and he's doing a good job. Spawn also crumping through many of these units. Balance is pretty even at this point. Honestly, none of the engagements that have really happened so far have been anything that's super decisive. We have been able to break down some Ungor Spearmen here and shatter some Razorgors, but on that same note, his Raiders were able to take out a unit of Spawn outright. I mean, they're down to like 800, 700 HP, and that is, in terms of like gold traded so far, probably a little bit better for the Beastmen. So now it looks like there's going to be either a Traderkin or another Flaming Sword going down. So it is a Traderkin, able to hit the Chaos Warriors as well as the Marauder Horsemasters. Doesn't do too much damage, but I was really surprised. I felt like at this point, nothing terribly decisive has happened. We've had some grinding in the front and whatnot, but I am pretty far behind in the balance of power. And it's not like this is a Beastman summoning build. He didn't bring any summoning builds. This is very much kind of like an old school Beastman build that double Gorbel back in Warhammer 1 used to be almost pretty much a guarantee, right? Because Gorbels back then, for anyone who wants a ye old history lesson from old man Turin here, back when I was in my 20s, basically, Gorbels could bring healing potions, and they were obscenely powerful. The potions would like basically be like free regrowths. They cost like 100 gold or something, and you get like 1500 HP back. It was really, really gross, but Anyways, Halberd's able to bust up these Ungor in the backfield here. You can see some Chaos Warhounds are kind of drifting through my back line, but it's okay. We pull back our spawn, we intercept those Hounds and kind of block them up, and some Marauder Horsemen do get dragged down, but for the most part, we should get the advantageous trade here as the spawn will now be able to do some good damage against the Chaos Warhounds. Over here, Halberd's still doing good, Cascading Fire Cloak giving them a little bit of a boon in melee defense, which does help. They're not fighting, terrible infantry. Goreherds do have pretty good offensive output, so being able to kind of grind those guys down hopefully should be pretty good for us. Marauder Horsemen, in the meantime, kiting back a massive vanguard of Beastmen. I do also have some Hounds running here, but I didn't want to take a square engagement. Kind of my school of thought. Get these Hounds, get these Centaurs with Grey Opens, pull them out into open field, and then countercharge with my Hounds and surround them once we get out of the trees. I didn't want to be fighting in the bushes here, knowing that there were some Beastmen infantry nearby, but my opponent, very, very sharp here, is able to pull back before anything really bad happens. Now back in this kind of battlefield here, the double Gorbals are doing an excellent job of actually just cleaving and focusing down the Chaos Spawn. And as far as spawn go, I think I only have a couple left. Yeah, that spawn just got headbutted into the Age of Sigmar there. And the other ones, let's see. 3 models on these bad boys. Halberd's doing really well. Their armor really giving a nice anchor, and Prince Sigvald just being an absolute raid boss. And Sigvald is incredibly good in this matchup. He's very, very tough to kill. And he spanks Morker. And really, I like to bring Sigvald against Morker because in this case, I'm having a little bit more trouble because my opponent does have a very mobile build. It's kind of pulling apart in a couple directions. He's got the mobile Gorbals with their, 64 speed. Morker, usually what happens with him is he gets stuck in the frontline engagement. You can chase him with Sigvald and just keep following him the entire game. It kind of guarantees you're going to be getting some value, but in this case, Sigvald has been having to hustle a little bit. He's working them glutes, man. He's on the hunt, and he's after you, in the words of Duran Duran. Anyways, Traderkin going down, a very nice one. The Beastmen, Centaurs and Throwing Axes and all their Raiders really pouring in and doing some great damage, and my opponent is kind of pulling ahead on the bounce of power. My spawn are kind of out of the picture. Here are the Chaos Warhounds with Poison, able to show their cousins who is boss here. We have 55 models against a 24, not going to complain, but the Beastmen mobility is still quite healthy. We do have 57 right here, and Centaurs with Grey Opens who are pretty numerous. Now, they're not shielded like their Centaur cousins without the Grey Opens, which means this kiting situation is quite good. The Marauder Horsemasters should be able to kind of throw as they run and really pick off quite a few models, although it seems like we're kind of getting stuck and not getting the best return fire. On top of that, Centaurs with Poison charging back in. You can see I do kind of sound the counter charge here. That's kind of cool about Marauder Horsemasters. 26, 26, 26 compared to what? Let's look at the Great Weapons, for example. Yeah, 27, 20, 28. So really, in terms of their overall stat comparison, probably fighting head-to-head, it's not a terrible trade for the Horsemasters, and that's why they're a pretty gangster unit, in my opinion. But, while all this skirmishing is going down, my opponent was able to pick apart my isolated halberds, which were more or less unsupported, and has pulled even further ahead in the bounce of power, or at least a little bit further. One Gorbal did get spanked pretty bad by Sigvald. He's not having a good time at all. And our throwing weapons are going to be going after him, trying to focus him down, while the Beastmen here do try and snipe my Chaos Sorcerer Fire, which is, I believe, a good call, considering he's potentially able to do some nice sniping with that Fireball and whatnot. But yeah, the Horsemasters really are the epicenter of my army at this point. I don't really have much else going on. Sigvald, he's just there with his Mad Max chaps, and, he's just fighting there, being, circle beaten, but he's all good. He can keep working through these guys and generating value, but our caster is out, and my opponent gets a beautiful Traderkin, man. I felt this one. I was like, okay, the bounce power is pretty even. It's going okay, but suddenly Traderkin comes down. My units get slowed. The Beastmen catch me, and I just take so much damage, dude. It was just pure punishment. So at this point, it's looking pretty grim, as they say, and the Marauder Horsemaster is being chased, and now it's basically just Prince Sigvald, but you can never count one out when Sigvald is here. Watch the bounce power, guys. Take note of this, and just watch as Prince Sigvald bumps and grinds. The Gorbals are both very low, right? And if they want to come in and fight Sigvald, I'm going to be juking these shots. He works those legs for a reason. He's going back and forth and back and forth, going in to fight the Gorbal, takes a little bit of damage. No, it does not take any. Heroic Killing Blow, giving him a massive advantage in terms of damage output. The other Gorbal comes in as well, giving up its back, and Sigvald with the prison shank, able to take out that Gorbal, a thing of beauty for sure. Now, Sigvald going to be turning around, going after the Goreherds with shields right here. The dreaded Malagor watching from the distance. And this is I thought the game was over when my Horsemasters broke. I was like, this one's over. Well played. My opponent had some really good plays. His Raiders were doing good. But then again, I looked at Sigvald and I was like, you know what? I've seen this before. This wouldn't be the first time. Nothing here is really excellent against Sigvald. There are throwing axes, which I guess aren't bad against him. Malagor is pretty much next to useless. He'll get killed in a matter of seconds. But just to spare you guys the absurdity of the juking and all that, I'll do a little bit of fast forwarding. But basically, Sigvald's just kind of juking the ammunition, trying to waste all the throwing axe fire, and it's working pretty well. And, every time something charges in, he's able to get a couple spanks in there, continues to get cycle charge. But Sigvald's going ham, man. Heroic Killing Blow active once again. He is just cutting through these gores like butter. Now, I do take a couple volleys from the throwing axes and the great weapons coming in. Good cycle charging from my opponent for sure, but Sigvald's not going to be denied, man. He's continuing to fight the good fight, and he is kind of creeping that balance of power back a little bit as I do get charged, but it looks like that is going to be it. There was a glimmer of hope. If my opponent had made the mistake of leaving the Gorbel in combat thinking he had won the game, Sigvald could have killed the Gorbel probably, and maybe could have won the game. But since my opponent was smart, his cycle charging was really good. Excellent Raider and Centaur play. He never overextended anything. It was beautiful. And yeah, I was really impressed with this play here, and it was awesome, man. So Sigvald 1700 value. Rest of the army here, let's see. Yeah, okay, honestly. I think I was a little bit too aggressive with my spawn. I let them get caught by the Raiders. I should have just held them back, used the infantry, forced the Raiders to shoot other targets. My spawn play was quite poor, but aside from that, it was a close game. You know, it went to the 6 or 7 minute mark. It was a good scrap. Well played to my opponent, and yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. Always a pleasure seeing the dreaded Malagor in action. Again, I have to like do a double take to remember his name because it's Malagor. That's how it is. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, and we'll see you on the other side, my friends. Take care.